Hey Broncos Country, I'm Laurie Lattimore-Volkmann, and this is the Roundup. This past week, I had an opportunity to speak with two former pro and college football players who have started a company that allows fans to buy stock in a player and earn a small percentage of their paycheck each week. And Broncos edge rusher Baron Browning is the first player to be featured on Vestible. Take a listen to our interview and then go to Vestible, download the app, and start investing in Browning's future.
Yves and I've been pretty blessed. We met each other playing at Oklahoma State. I played offensive line, went from Oklahoma State to then playing for the Baltimore Ravens in 2014, parlayed that into wealth management, and got into startups pretty quickly after that. And so the idea for Vestible, kind of like the genesis before the idea really was just having always been around athletics and been around athletes. Like there's just this really interesting time that we're walking into where the power of athletes' brands are just so much bigger than they've ever been in history. And really 2020 kind of rolled along, and Yves and I saw the writing on the wall that these athletes and these brands were just growing really rapidly, and there needed to be a new way to really monetize them. And there's a couple of ways we were handling that, but we wanted to kind of create our own. But that's, I mean, from the background of playing football, working with athletes, becoming an investment advisor, working on the regulatory side of things, and then coming back into software.
Absolutely. So Laurie, in my athletic background really is, I walked on at Oklahoma State. I honestly didn't even know that you could get a scholarship to play collegiate football. My family is like, we're immigrants. We knew nothing about college sports, college athletics, but came in and I thought it was just like high school. Hey, you try out for the football team and you make a team, right? But, eventually I was able to earn a scholarship. But my, really since my sophomore year of college, I served on a couple of different committees within the NCAA. And in those committees, my biggest thing was always trying to be a voice for the student athlete, football players and all of them. And in that, had just great opportunities to really kind of be a voice for the locker room whenever it came to things that had to do with legislation, things that had to do with the governance in the Big 12 Conference. So that led to an opportunity working with the University of Notre Dame, doing a very similar role, student athlete advocacy, and then worked for the Miami Dolphins in player engagement. So everything in those roles always revolved around trust, right? So, whether you're trying to get players to continue their education in the off season or graduate and pursue a master's degree or, attend a panel about mental health or whatever it is, it's always about what is best for the athlete. And at the same time, I'm a really, really big fan of a lot of these athletes and a big fan of the sport in general. So, by far the number one topic of discussion in athletes as they get higher and higher in the level of the profession is finances. So I always just thought about and thought about, man, what is it that you can do to really maximize your finances and your earnings during the small period of time that you have that's called your athletic career, right? As long as your body allows you to do it. So, years later, after I transitioned out of the Dolphins, Parker and I were having a conversation. This is in 2021, and we're just talking, and we knew everything that was going on around the blockchain and Web3 and crypto and all these things. And we said, hey, look, there's something there. Don't necessarily know about Web3, but what if we were to go and get fully regulated by the SEC and by FINRA and allow athletes then to really monetize their career like you could a stock, right? And fans get to invest in it just like they would in any stock, where the athlete gets to benefit and the fan gets to benefit as well. Like, wouldn't that be something cool? And that's how it started. That was the idea of Vestible right there.
What we did was we just started figuring out, okay, what kind of athletes fit what we're looking to do? Who kind of has which athletes have the ability to not only be great investments today, but also be incredibly great partners tomorrow. And Barron was one of those folks that really hit our criteria on kind of all the fronts. Third round draft pick. He's been playing out of position. This is kind of his first year where he's healthy and playing in the right position. And so from an investor perspective, there's no better time to invest in a guy at this portion of their career than a guy like Barron, who has everything to prove in a contract season and on a team who, we think has the ability to win a lot more games this year than they did last year.
Talking to, his former college coach, Al Washington, and hearing him say, hey, he has a really unique skill set to where he can really do everything. And I think we got to see that whenever he came into the league as, middle linebacker. And then he shifts over to outside linebacker. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, his first step is ridiculous. Oh, he's actually one of the, best guys at getting pressure on the quarterback. And very quickly you realize, oh, he has the massive upside that you're looking for. After the initial conversations with his former agent, Eugene, we went and actually had a conversation with Barron, just kind of sat down, laid everything out, make sure that it was all clear. And once it was, I think what really got us excited was the fact that he was excited.
Exactly. Yeah. So from an investment perspective, you can't go too early. You can't go too late. You have to go right at the right time. And Barron's in a position of his career where he hasn't really made his quote unquote big money yet. But he is outperforming his current contract. Whether he stays with the Denver Broncos for another year, he goes to another team next year, or the Broncos re-sign him, as long as he has a good year this year, he's going to have a really high ability to make a lot of money for himself. And in this case, his investors as well. If you look at a guy like, if we were to go to Pat Mahomes right now, right, best quarterback in the league, making $500 million, right, we would have to come to him and try to raise $100 million for it to make sense, right? And then we would have to find investors on the other side of that think that Pat has the ability to earn that much more to get their return. And so it's really this unique spot where it's folks who haven't made, a lot of money yet, but have kind of proven that they're high achievers. That is really where our sweet spot is. And we do have college players as well that are doing the same thing, but just are earlier in their career, right? So there's more risk there, but there's also more reward. It's a lot less about like, quote unquote, helping the athlete, like, because this isn't charity, right? Like, this is an investment being made with a player who is a high caliber player. So we're not really going to be, you won't see players on our platform that are, journeymen, that are, we're looking for high alpha, high returns for our investors and high returns for the athlete as well, right? So we really have to be very cautious about who we pick, because we don't want to take just everybody. It has to be someone very specific. Parameters of the investment are, we have a floor and a ceiling, right? So we have a minimum to raise of 600,000, which is 60,000 shares at $100 a share, up to 100,000 shares at $10 a share. Each share is worth $10. And so we've been working on this specific deal for a year, building, rapport with investors, building rapport with institutional funds, private equity groups, all this fun stuff. So we are basically bringing all those parties together right now. And that started again a year ago, but really the app went live. People started coming on, putting their money in roughly on May 1st.
We're in a day and age where fans are more sophisticated than they've ever been before, like ever in history. I mean, you have fans nowadays who are making podcasts about what the salary cap of the Denver Broncos is going to look like for the next 3 years. Right. And you're just like, we didn't have this much access, five years ago, even 10 years ago. And then, people who are breaking down advanced stats, and they're going to all these other websites and advanced metrics and the analytics boom that's happening right now. So people are able to actually go in and say, hey, based on this information, it's not just, hey, this person's brand and popularity is going to increase this much, but their actual value to a team, value to a league can be quite quantified, actually, right? Like putting a number on it. And fans being able to say, well, hey, I actually want to put my money behind this and invest in it, and possibly get capital appreciation, get the distributions from this investment. That's the way that we like to look at it. Fans can go in, like they can go in Google Play, they can go in the Apple Store, download the Vestible app, create an account, and begin investing. And
I would tell people to hurry. We have our bigger money investors that are going to be coming online in the next couple of weeks and going to be taking very large chunks of Barron's offering. Vestible is in itself an exchange. So you go to the Vestible app, you have a brokerage account that you buy shares with,
Right.
and our assets, as opposed to being Google, Apple, and Facebook, are Baron Browning, next Travis Kelce, next, name your player, right?
Right.
And so those shares trade on our platform through a ticker symbol. So Barons are BDBR. And then, fast forward 12 months from now, we'll have anywhere from 10 to 15 athletes on the platform. But each athlete, again, like it's not like the traditional stock market where there's already trillions of dollars of liquidity in it, right?
Right.
Like we have to, as Vestible, we're out there, we're the ones, talking to folks like you, working with our bigger money investors, and then, doing campaigns with individual Broncos fans, right? People that are really excited about Barron as an athlete and as an investment. I mean, these are true investments. That's one thing I do want to make sure that we hit on with you. Like, this is not like an NIL deal where Barron's face is on something and that's all it is. Barron we've created a company with Barron that people are investing in and going to be making 1% of his on the field earnings with. So every time he gets paid, Barron's sending 1% checks. Well, Barron, quote unquote, really it's Vestible through Barron. It's sending those checks to those investors that hold those shares. So it's not about, it has nothing to do with his performance, right? So like, that's really where I really want to make sure we separate this.
Yep.
It is legitimately, you're investing in Barron's career. Barron's going to make $3 million this year. Barron's going to pay his investors $30,000 this year over his 36 paychecks, right? So like when Barron gets paid, let's say it's week 13, when Barron gets paid on week 13, if you have shares in Barron, you're getting that 1% to you in week 13. It doesn't matter if he has 10 sacks, doesn't matter if he played that week, doesn't matter anything. Whatever he got paid into his account, 1% is going to you guys.
But I mean, really what you're investing in is that, hey, he's going to go out there, have a great season. This is the last year of his rookie deal. And then next year, okay, maybe he, 5, 6, 7 times this contract, right? Gets paid $20 million. And then boom, the value of the stock that I own, that goes up. The key phrase is just outperforming their contract, right? Like for somebody of Barron's caliber, of Barron's talent, and the impact that he has. I mean, I even think back to whenever he came back last season.
Yeah.
The Broncos went on a 5-game winning streak. Their defense looked different, right? He was setting the edge. He was getting quarterback pressure. So you look at that, okay, last year he's making, however much he was making, but somebody who's performing to that same level, they're making minimum probably $18 million, right? So that's what we're looking at, right?
Barron's in a great scenario here too. If he has a bonus or any kind of performance booster, fans are going to be watching that game on that Sunday thinking to themselves, oh my gosh, if Barron gets this next sack, I'm going to get a bonus this week, right? It literally puts you directly with the athlete every single step of the way of their career.